folks. Hey, this is Ken with Kenjutsu Bring It to Life, and today I want to start the LAS-7 Dagger from Helldivers 2. I've been really enjoying that one lately. It pairs up really well with my Eruptor, so I decided to honor its service by making it into a prop. So we just opened Blender, and the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the light and the camera. We're not going to need either of those, so left clicking and then shift left clicking to get both of them, and right click, delete. And then we're going to switch over to this orientation. You can just hit this Y button here, and we have our default cube. But the first thing I'm going to do is go over here to scene units, and then we're going to switch link to millimeters, since that's what our 3D printers tend to use. It'll give us a better measurement, and we'll go ahead and get rid of this guy too. I'm going to right click, delete on that, and then I'm going to hit Shift A and go down to images reference so I can get our or my reference image for this particular prop. So let's go Helldivers 2 and LAS-7 Dagger. All right, here it is. Fantastic. Alright, so I know we're going to have to scale it down some, so I just clicked on that and I hit S to scale, and then we can roll in and out with the mouse. So I think the first thing we're going to start is the handle, since I already know about how wide I'm going to want that. So I'm going to hit Shift A, and then I'm going to go up here to Mesh, and then we're going to put in, I guess we'll start with a cube, even though we just got rid of that one. And we're going to shrink this down to 40 millimeters, I think, is a good width for the handle. So we'll start there. And we'll start it with, let's go with this profile shot. And you know what? I like to make the gun the other way. I don't know why, but I'm going to just click on this, hit G to grab it, and then I'm going to hit R to rotate, Z to rotate along the Z axis, and then I'm just going to flip it around. I'm holding Control so we can get 5-degree increments up there. Otherwise, it would be much smaller increments. So just to make it a little easier, I'm going to switch over to 180 degrees, and we're going to put that right around there. I'm rolling up and down on the mouse wheel to zoom out and in. So here, and um, let's go ahead and set the pivot point to 3D cursor. That's the 3D cursor right there. That way when we scale, it scales based on that instead of the center point like it was. And say around there-ish, I think will do us. All right, so now click, oh yeah, let's go ahead and push this back too. So I'm going to hit G to grab and then Y to move along the Y axis and push it back just a little bit so it's not right on top of our cube. And then I'm going to go get our cube, and then I'm going to hit Tab to go into edit mode, and we're in vertices mode. We also have edges mode, so you can click on the edges here. Here, vertices mode, we got these little points, and then faces mode, we can get the whole faces like that. So if you ever get confused with why yours doesn't look exactly like what I'm doing, definitely check these guys out. And you can switch between them by hitting 1, 2, and 3 on the num strip. So first thing we're going to do is kind of form this a little closer to our handle. So I'm going to go up here and hit X-ray mode. And then I'm going to hit 1 to make sure we're in vertices mode. And then I'm going to just grab these. We got both of them because in X-ray mode it goes all the way through. So we got both of those. And then I'm going to pull this. I'm going to hit G and just put that right around there. Put this one right around there, which very general. Very general. We'll put in some details later. Whoops. Go back to that Y orientation so it's dead on. Okay, and from there, I think we'll start putting in a few details. So I'm gonna go into edges mode with 2, and then I clicked on both of these guys. And then I'm gonna right click and subdivide. That way we get another point here. We just made a little edge there. I went into vertices mode now. You can see the little dots. And then that just gave us another point to position. I'm gonna put that one over here. And then I'm gonna do this right click and subdivide, and then we'll do it like 3 more times just to give us a few more points. I went back into vertices mode with 1, and we're going to put this one over here, and we'll grab this one and put it over here, and grab this one and put it over here. And I think we have a bit of a curve here, so let's get us some more. Went back to edges mode with 2. Now I selected those 2 edges again, and we're going to right click, subdivide, and let's do another 3. And this way we can make our curve. So let's put this one about here, I think. And another one over here. And one more. I don't think this one's all that necessary. So in order to get rid of that, I'm going to take this, well, I'm going to take this edge here, hit X, and then delete the edge. And then I'm going to hit these 2 vertices with Shift, left click, and then right click, and then we're going to dissolve those vertices. So that keeps this line. If we deleted it, the edge would go with it. So we wanted to keep it, we still got it. Oops. Alright, and let's do the same thing over here. So I clicked on both of these edges because we got X-ray mode on, subdivide, and we're going to grab this in vertices mode and put that over here. And then we'll grab those again, subdivide, let's say 3 more times. And grab that and put it over here, here, and here. And I think we can do with one more right here. So we got that going so far. Now, since we do have this back shot here, I'm going to go ahead and Shift D to duplicate our reference image, and then I'm going to, we still got the 3D cursor, so I'm going to hit rotate and then Z to rotate along the Z, R and then Z, not rotate and Z, to rotate it around, and I'm holding control, and I'm going to rotate it to 90 degrees. That way we can get it over here, and we can use this to measure how thick our handle's going to be. So it's about there. And back on our object, and we go back into edit mode with tab, and then I'm going to select everything. And then let's go with the median point. So we're at the dead center of where this is our new pivot point. I'm going to hit S for scale, and then Y so we can move along the Y axis. Then I'm going to squish it down a bit to be about here-ish. It's a little off, but this image is also not exactly dead on, so that should be okay. Let's see how thick this is. And in order to see that, I went into edit mode with edges, and then I'm going to go up to this little arrow up here, mesh edit mode, and then I'm going to hit edge lengths, and that'll give us 33.9. That's the measurement for this edge. Let me get my calipers to see how that's going to fit in my hand. 33.9, and it seems like it'd be a bit thick, actually. Thinking maybe it can be more like 28. Let's see how that is. Okay, we're gonna select it all again, and we're in edges mode. It doesn't really matter. Scale, S for scale, and then Y, and then we'll just drag it down to 28. I think that'll just be a more comfortable fit. Yeah, all right. So that's basically the handle. And so I'm thinking how we're gonna print this thing. So chances are the handle will probably be one piece, and then it'll probably fit into, I guess, a slot that'll hook it into this bit here, and then the barrel will sit on it. And there aren't really any moving parts. I think we'll only be doing the trigger as a moving part, and then removing the cooling cell. as a part. And maybe we'll make this, I think, the laser sight or a flashlight or something detachable. But other than that, I don't think anything really moves. We'll also make the sight up here detachable as well, I think, because I just like doing that. I'm really hoping eventually we'll be able to modify our secondaries and such. So that'll be in preparation for that. Maybe do different sight systems and such that can affect ergonomics and whatnot, like we can with a lot of our primaries. So considering that, I guess we can just extend this a bit. So back in edges mode on this handle, we don't need this face up here. So I'm going to right click and then delete face. That'll open that back up. And then we can go back into vertices mode. And now I'm going to hit E to extrude. So right now I just made a face over here with E to extrude it, and then I'm going to hit G to grab it and move it around, and I'm going to try to follow this pattern. It does not have to be super precise. We are going to bevel these edges soon. So, what's up with this? Is that a slanty bit there? I think so. It's like this is clamping onto the trigger, the handle assembly. So I think we'll just go straight up then, with G and Z, so grab and then move along the Z axis. And, let's see, I think this will all be one piece, so it'll grab up here, and maybe a little further than that. How's this back looking? This looks almost like it just kind of sits back here, which is a little awkward, but we can work that in. I think this will go inward. So I went E to extrude, and now we're moving along the x-axis. And I want to come up here with E, Z. We'll go about here, because if these kind of cover each other, that'll give us plenty of surface area for some super glue to hold this thing together. So I'm going to go with E and then X, actually. Yeah, X. I'm going to go all the way over here. So this will all be one part. Let's take a look at this, how that's assembled. And it does look like it does extend that far into it. So that'll be fine. So let's just G, Y, GX actually. Let's get that over here. And then I'll hit E to extrude and then Z to go straight down. So we're just making the general shape here. We'll refine it as we go. So E again to extrude, and then E one more time, almost all the way back around. And let's go GX, and I think that about does it. So I'm going to go into edges mode, and with these two selected, left clicking on this one, and then shift left clicking on this one, and I'm going to hit F to put a face in between them. So now those are nicely connected. And I just alt left clicked on this, and I'm thinking face, and then get this other edge over here with alt left click, and then F for face again. Seal that up, and now I think we'll do the trigger. So I'm gonna shift right click to move our 3D cursor over here, and then I'm going to shift A to pull up our menu. Then I'm going to make us a mesh here. Yeah, plain. And let's shrink that down to like 40 or so. And I'm going to hit R for rotate, and then X to rotate along the X-axis. And I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees by holding Control. And then I hit S. Well, actually, no. Let's take this edge and just GZ here. GX to pull it back here. And GX again to pull this over here. And it looks like there's some layers here. So I think that's the trigger. And then there's this layer, which is interesting, but okay. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Okay, so back in here, we're going to want to separate this. So I'm going to click on one of these vertices and hit L. That'll select everything that vertex is attached to. And then I hit P and then separate selection. That just made this into its own object. So now we have the handle and we have our squares, two separate things. So I'm going to go into edit mode here and click on these two vertices because the curvature seems about even on those. I'm going to right click and then bevel vertice. So now we got this going. So and I'm going to roll up on the mouse wheel to give ourselves some more bevel, give us some more roundage here, which seems about right. And then I'm going to click on these two and basically do the same thing, though they do differ a bit. So I'm just going to do one like this. And then now that we have that, I could have just kept those vertices up, and then we're going to bevel it again. So it's kind of like, actually, I think these need to be drawn back a bit. GX on those. And then these might actually be a little closer together. So I'm going to hit S for scale and then Z. And since we got that medium point selected, it'll go towards the center. And I think that gets more of the curve that we're looking for. And then I'll right click with those vertices selected and we will bevel again. And I think that might be a little closer to what we're looking for. I'm going to go ahead and hit C to get our circle selector, and then I'll hold left click to select these guys, and I guess these guys in between these two vertices here. Right click, then I'm going to smooth the vertices. And then we're going to increase the iterations a bit, because that seems like just a rounded edge there. And that seems about right. And then we have this. It's almost like another one of those layers, which is interesting. Not sure what that does, but we're gonna put it in there, I guess. How do I want to do that? I guess we can just connect these two. Hit F. Actually, let's get rid of these faces. Oh, just one face. X on that. Oh, I went into faces mode using 3. That way we have this little dot here that indicates the face. And then we're going to hit X and then only face to get rid of that since we're not going to need it. And let's right click. Let's subdivide this twice. And then we'll take both of these and I'm going to hit in vertices mode and hit scale, Z, and spread these out a bit. And then we're going to hit G, X, and I'm going to bring it over here, maybe over here. And then let's right click and bevel that vertex to make it kind of roundish. It's about what we're going for, I think. And then we can do similarly over here. We'll go ahead and take these two edges, right click, subdivide. Now we have these 2 points and vertices mode, and then I'll hit F to get an edge between them, and then we'll go back into edge mode, G, X to drag it back over here. And then we'll do a similar operation, subdivide twice, and we'll get these vertices, S for scale, Z, spread those out a bit, then G, X to drag it back here, a little past where we want the curve, right click, bevel, and we'll get, I think they need to be stretched out a little bit more with GZ. And then let's try beveling again, see if we can get that curve. I think that's about right. It's pretty close. Pretty close. Alright, right now I don't think we're going to worry too much about the trigger. And I think there's something this bit that maybe we don't need to worry about right now. Maybe we can go ahead and do the mesh knife project. So with the handle selected, we're going to control left click on this guy. Oh, no. Before that, let's go in a handle mode, hit Edit Tab to get into edit mode, and then Control left click on this. So we have the handle in edit mode and then this guy in red. We're going to go up to Mesh, Knife Project, and then Cut Through. And that should put the shape that we just made and slice all the way through our handle. Let's G, Y, and get that out of there. A little too close. And there we have our nice cut that we just made. And let's go ahead and get rid of all these faces in here. In faces mode, I'm clicking those little dots that indicate the faces with left click and then shift left click to get the rest of them. And then we'll hit X and delete the faces. And I don't think we need this anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and hide it with H. So it's still there, just not visible. And then we can go in here and into tab mode. Then I think we can take these and these because I think they're on the same layer. And I'm going to shift D to duplicate them. And making sure we're still in median point, we're going to hit S for scale and then Y. And then we're going to bring them a bit together to put them on their own separate little layer. And I think there might be another layer in between. So we'll select on these larger openings here and then Shift D same way and then SY, bring them in just a bit. Say SY again and say these will be closer, and then I'll take these two again and push them a little closer, like so. That should help give us those layers that we're looking for. So first thing, we'll take these two outer layers. I just Alt left clicked and then Alt shift left clicked on those. So those are those two edge loops. I'm going to go ahead and hit 2 to get the edge mode, right click, and then bridge edge loops. So now we created faces on all that, so that's that level. And let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. Here, selected all those, 2, go into edges mode, bridge edge loops. So that's that level. And then, I think we're going to need to duplicate these. So Shift D on this one, and G. Oh yeah, let's get Snap on. This will be helpful. Turning on Snap, and then I'm going to go over here into its options and hit Active, and then Vertex. That'll allow us to snap right on here. We already duplicated it, so we just G, and now we're snapping right to it. Just like that. And then let's go ahead and click on both of these. And then go back into edges mode, bridge edge loops. Alright, so that's that level. And now we got to connect these two levels. And in order to do that, I'm going to hit, well, actually, let's do this first. So collecting all those with Alt left click, Shift D to duplicate, and then G, Y. So we grab and then move along the Y axis, and then we can snap it on any of these on this level. And then we will Alt Shift left click to get both of those, hit 2 to go into edges mode, right click, and then bridge edge loops. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and hit A to select all, and then we're going to go to mesh because we did duplicate some vertices in there. I'm going to go to cleanup, merge by distance, and I'm going to set that to 0.01 just so it's nice and precise, and we removed 8 of those vertices. That should have been the ones that we duplicated in here. We can see that that is true. So we can select now this opening here with Alt left click, right? Alt left click, and then F to seal that up, so we got that level. And then we'll do the same over here. Alt left click, F, and then Alt left click, F, Alt left click, F. So now we got those levels going. And I think the trigger is, there's a bar up here, and then there's the trigger. So let's get rid of these lines just to get them out of the way. I'm gonna go to circle select and select all these guys. Rolled up with the mouse, out, down to get it to come out, so you can change the size. And circle select with C, collect these. We shouldn't need those anymore, so right click, delete vertices. And let's get these. And then these. Circle select C. Those, right click, delete. Alright. So that is no longer in the way. And now let's think about that rail. So it seems it's like two more levels we're gonna need. We're gonna need the rail level, and then the trigger I think is between, yeah, it's between this rail. And that just goes forward and backwards. So I guess that level is only up here. And how far does it go down? Ah, we can see it right here. And we'll say it's here, just for argument's sake. Let's see if that lines up at all. So I'm going to shift click on those two, and I'm going to hit E to extrude, and then X to get it to go back here so we can see where that's going to be. And it's not going to quite line up, unfortunately, but that's okay. We can just click on these two inner bits here, right click, subdivide, and then we'll drag those as close as we can to this edge. G, X, have it. I'm going to zoom in as far as we can. GX, put it right on that edge. And then we can just click on these in G and then hover over it to snap it right in place. Oh yeah, let's turn on auto merge for this one too. That way instead of being separate, they act as a single vertex there. And we'll do the same to that. And yeah, I think all we have to do is get these faces between those edges, just hit F, and then maybe it'll be easier to collect these manually. So with our circle select, I'm just hovering over with left click to select these guys, and hit F, put a face right on there, and there's our rail, or the almost finished rail. Selecting these, and then selecting these with circle select and hit F, and that's the rail, I think. I don't think we need any more outside of the trigger, which will be in between here. So let's go ahead and right click and subdivide these. We don't need this immediately, but we will need it. This will be the kind of slot that the trigger goes into. So I just wanted to fill this in because I don't think we need this for anything. So I'm going to just F on these, and my Alt left click to select all of these. I'm going to hit circle select to get rid of these two, holding shift and clicking on them to deselect, then right clicking and then bridging these edge loops. So now we have that, and I think that's the way the rail's supposed to look there. And so now we concern ourselves with the trigger, which is going to be thinner than the rail. So let's go ahead and with these two edges selected, I'm going to right click, subdivide, see where about that is. In vertices mode, I'm going to hit G, X, put it about above where the trigger is. We'll do the same for this guy. G, X. Alright, now let's go ahead and... Oh, this is a little off. G, X, and just snap it. So now they're all nicely aligned. And I'm going to take these two in edge mode, right click, subdivide twice. Now we have our slot for our trigger, and I'm going to, with those two selected, I'm going to hit S for scale, and then Y. Then we're going to stretch this out a bit. Otherwise, the trigger's going to be real thin. So let me see on my calipers. 11 millimeters is actually not bad for a trigger. I think that'll stand. So we'll just leave that right there. And then we'll do similarly over here. Let's subdivide this guy. 1, 2. And then we'll stretch this out with those two vertices. I'm going to hit S for scale, and then we're going to make this 11 as well. So that'll be basically the width of our trigger. Our trigger will actually be 10 if I want it to fit in there. But we will worry about that in a little bit. In fact, no, 10's fine, 10's fine. So now we'll make a little channel for the trigger to slide in here. So I'm thinking, let's go into edge mode, then hit E to extrude, and then we'll go straight down with Z. And let's make that 3 millimeters or so. See, I don't want to go through the whole thing. 3 millimeters should be fine though. Come on, give me 3. There we go. Alright, and then we'll extrude, and then I'll right click and G, X, and then we'll snap it back here. And we'll go ahead and, yeah, let's take these two. We don't want the edges, just the vertices. E, and then GX to bring it back over here. And we didn't actually want these edges. Let's get rid of, or do we? No, it's the face we don't want. So in faces mode 3, and then X, and then only face. And then we'll create some faces here. And I don't think we need this one. Not yet, because this is going to be the channel for the trigger. So let's then select these guys with Alt left click, and then we'll pull it back. G, X, around here-ish. And I'll actually have to go back a bit further. Maybe over here. This is open. That's okay. I'll select these two edges and hit F to close that up with a face. And let's go ahead and close this up also. The face. And then we can open this up because this is going to be our channel. And this is 11, right? Yeah. Okay, and then we'll bring this. So the trigger, in order to get it in here when we 3D print, is probably going to have to come through here. So let's go ahead and get rid of this face. In faces mode with 3, and then X, and then only face. And then we'll take this, and we'll come all the way up with it, and snap it to one of these top vertices here. So that'll leave an opening, and then we will hit E, G, or right click G, could kind of start over, and then go to X, and then we'll snap it back here, and then we will get rid of this face. And I mean, I don't think we need anything else up here, so we can just click on these vertices, face, F for face, and then F for face, boop, F for face, then click on these, boop, for face. That way we can put our trigger down into this slot here. Otherwise it would be next to impossible to actually fit it in. So that's taken care of. Let's get this back here. Do we just... I think we'll extrude. And then right click GX, snap it back here. And and I think we can seal up these over here. So let's go ahead and right click with these two selected and subdivide. I'm gonna hit G, Y, and GX to snap it over here. And then we'll go ahead and seal these two up. And I think we'll do similarly for these. But for this one, let's go ahead and click on all of these vertices here. Here, and then we'll extrude. And then G, after extruding, I right click, and then G, Y, and then we'll snap it on here. Actually, it shouldn't have gone up like that. Okay, G, Y, and we'll snap it here, and close that up, and it's auto snapping. Control Z to undo, and let's check auto snap, auto merge threshold. Let's shrink that down to 0.01. That's why it was auto merging over there. So let's try that again. G, Y, there we go. And then we can close this face, and close this face, and we'll do the same thing, collecting all these vertices. Let's say E, and then right click G, Y, snap it over here, face, face. Alright, so now we're really building up our channel for the trigger. I think we'll need these, well, not all those. Let's get this edge, that tiny edge, whoop, not that one. It's collecting these edges, and then this one here, and then we'll hit face to close that up, and then get these, do basically the same thing. I feel like I double clicked on something, but maybe not. Not that edge. These. And this one back here, hit F. Got our face. Now we got the back end here, here. So now we have kind of a channel for our trigger to move back and forth in, and we will be using a spring behind it that I'll make a hole for a little later. That should keep the trigger forward until you push it. That'll compress the spring, and then letting go will let the trigger go back to its neutral position. So that'll be like a nice trigger pull effect. I'll collect all these edges, hit F on that. Collecting these now, same ones, just opposite side, and F. And there's our trigger slot. And that's a lot of the handle we covered already. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take a break, and we will pick up in a moment.